Hello friends, welcome to this video lesson of your online course. Today we are going to discuss another topic, that is schemes of education. Before starting our discussion, let me to introduce myself. I, Dr. Niradhar, Associate Professor, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Welcome you all to this video lesson. Friends, as you know, presently we are in the third week of your online course. The course code, your online course code is BES 122, which is one of the core courses of your B.Ed program, and course title is Contemporary Indian Education. From this course, in the third unit, in the third module, you have the module that is Education and Policies. In this module, three important lessons are there, that is constitutional provisions of education in India, that already we have discussed, that what are the different constitutional provisions are there so far as fundamental right is concerned, then so far as the cultural right of the minorities are concerned, then the directive principle of state policy is concerned, what are the different articles are included, which is directly linked with the educational development of the citizens. Okay. So, that already we have discussed in the first lesson, and in the second lesson we have discussed that education is a key area of a public policy. So, when we develop a public policy, when we develop a scheme of education, then what is the role of education? And even if it is related with other sector, it may be health sciences, it may be agriculture, it may be media, it may be public relation. So, how education also equally help or how education works as a key area for that public policy. And we have discussed the second lesson, particularly implementation of educational policies, then the research for the policy analysis and planning, as well as how to address the need of the stakeholders and how to involve the stakeholders so far as the better implementation of the public policy is concerned. And the third important lesson is the schemes of education. So, here in this lesson we are going to discuss the schemes of education. So, what are the different schemes of education and why there is the need to develop or to prepare to establish certain schemes, okay, and how the schemes are further related with the constitution or the constitutional provisions for education. Now, let us go forward. So, friends, now let us focus upon the few learning outcomes from this video lesson, that is, after going through this video lesson and the part E content which is given in your module, in the third module of your online course, you will be able to discuss the need of schemes of education, and you will acquaint yourself with different schemes that are being implemented centrally or through different state governments, okay, and what is the very objective of those policies, and at the same time who are the prime beneficiaries of that policy. And further we will be discussing or you will be critically analyzing various schemes of education sponsored by central and state government in India. As education is the concurrent list, so it is the responsibility both of the central government, the union government, and at the same time it is also the responsibility of the state government to provide education. Okay, so that's why to provide education means to provide facilities to the learners, to the students. The state government as well as the central government, they come forward with different schemes of education. Okay, that schemes may be for the elementary school students, may be for the foundational, preparatory, middle or secondary school students, or it may be for the higher education also. And accordingly, the state government also come forward with different schemes to provide better facilities, quality facilities of education to the children, to the citizens. So, now let us focus upon why there is the need of you can say why there is the need of or why, need of different schemes or why schemes of education. what purpose it serves. So friends, when I say about the schemes, definitely I will try to link it with the constitutional provisions. First, you see on your screen now, constitutional provisions of education. So what it says? Constitutional provisions of education, it says that there are certain aspects, certain things, certain articles are there in the constitution that talks about education of the citizen, that talks about providing education to the citizens, to providing training to the citizens. So that's why this is the constitutional obligation, that in principle these are the certain things, certain educational provisions are included in the constitution, and it is the responsibility of the country, it is the responsibility of the state to implement those provisions, those educational provisions. And friends, for implementing those educational provisions, then in a very decentralized way the things are happened. Just like basing upon the constitutional provisions of education, education policies are established through different commissions. Many a time you will find that I can give certain example, just like the University Education Commission 1948-49, that has been established just after the independence of India, independence of our country. Then I can take the example of the Secondary Education Commission. Then further I can take the example the National Policy on Education NPE 1968, and further NPE 1986 and Kothari Commission 1964. Okay. So 1986 NPE 1986, the commission provided a detailed report about development of education, starting from school education to higher and technical education, professional education. And recently the NEP 2020, National Education Policy 2020, it also talks about that what type of education system should be there in the country, so far as what should be the new curricular and pedagogical structure so far as school education is concerned. So what is the implications of 10 plus 2, implications of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system of education as per NEP 2020, and how the new pedagogical structure will be implemented. Okay. So that's why what I mean to say here, as per the constitutional provisions, country and the state, they establish certain education commissions, just like University Education Commission, then Secondary Education Commission, Kothari Commission 1964-66, then National Policy on Education 1968, then NPE 1986, then Revised National Policy on Education 1992, then presently after 34 years of last education policy, now it is NEP 2020, now it is getting implemented across the country, NEP 2020. So to implement the constitutional provision of education, time to time the then government and the present government, they establish the commission, and the commission provide the report, and it is the work of the government to implement those reports. Okay. So constitutional provision directly it cannot get implemented. It is the work of the country to go through the provision, to understand the provision, then accordingly to establish the committee and commissions, come forward with a report, and further as per the recommendation of the reports, the things are getting implemented. Then after the report of the Education Commission, then implementation of education policies are happened. Okay. So implementation, so how to implement the recommendations that are given in different stages of education, just like in school education. If I will focus upon the present policy, the NEP 2020 in school education, this has said that a 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system of education should be there. First 5 years the foundational stage, the next 3 years is the preparatory, then further 3 years is the middle stage, and last 4 years is the secondary stage. Then what are the different things that's supposed to be undertaken, that's supposed to be done at different stage of education, how the curriculum will be developed, what type of teaching learning process will be developed at a particular stage. And if I focus upon the early childhood care education, ECCE, here also there is the recommendation to formalize the early childhood care education and to train the teachers to come forward with a national curriculum framework for early childhood and care education, for the pre-primary education, for the nursery education of the children. So here, these are the part of the constitutional provision. Constitution says that it is the responsibility of the state to provide free and compulsory elementary education to the citizen, to the children of this country. Now it is in the Article 21A, that means it is in the fundamental right now. It is the fundamental right of the citizen of this country to get compulsory elementary education. So that's why the constitutional provision, for implementing the constitutional provision, the commissions will recommend certain things, then as per the recommendation certain acts will be developed, certain policies, certain schemes will be developed, and further those schemes and policies will be implemented. Okay. So that's why how it will be implemented. The policies will be implemented through different types of schemes, different types of projects and acts, just like Right to Education Act, midday meal and other types of schemes also that has been established and that has been launched at a different time for, you can say, satisfying and for achieving the constitutional provisions. So that's why the scheme of education is to implement the constitutional provisions indirectly. Okay. So constitution has says that educational facilities should be given, and for providing the educational facilities, for interpreting that how the things will be happened in a very organized way, in a very systematic way, the commissions will come forward with the report. And as per the report, the implementation, it will be interpreted and implementation plan will be developed. Okay. And in implementation plan, you will find that a particular aspect, a particular, you can say, issue will be developed through a scheme. So that's why here there is the need of many schemes for implementing, you can say, educational provisions in the constitution. Now let me to say, the scheme of education may be sponsored by the central government as well as the state government, as education is in the concurrent list, or it is a concurrent subject, or it is a state subject also. So that's why central government or the union government, they also come forward with certain schemes to provide benefits of education across the country to the elementary students or to the secondary, to the senior secondary, or to other students also, to vocational and technical students also. Then accordingly, it is also a subject of the state. So that's why the specific state government, the particular state government, they also come forward with many schemes. They also come forward with many projects, with many acts, that how they will provide benefits to the students, for motivating them, for inspiring them to the system of education, okay, to the system of schooling. So now let me to focus upon some of the, as example, some of the centrally sponsored scheme of education. Then further we will be discussing some of the state specific or state sponsored scheme of education as per the constitutional provision. Here I am not, there is the paucity of time, it is not possible to go through all the schemes which is run by the central government and run by different state government. Then definitely I will be focusing upon some of the schemes for your understanding. First of all, if I focus upon the Right to Education Act 2009, which is now a constitutional right, which is now a fundamental right of the children, then what is the objective of this Right to Education Act 2009? So the act is developed for, you can say, satisfying and achieving the constitutional provision of education. In constitution, this has been said that in Article 21A and earlier in Directive Principle of State Policy in Article 45, this has been mentioned that the state will provide free and compulsory elementary education, that is from class 1 to class 8 within the age group of 6 to 14 to all the children of the state. Okay. So this is there in the constitution. So implementing it, then one act has been developed, that's called as the Right to Education Act 2009. And the objective of this act is to implement Article 21A, of the Constitution of India and its consequent legislation, the Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 become operative in the country on 1st April 2010. So this is the objective, that as per the Article 21A, the Right to Education Act 2009, which has been notified, so how to implement it from 1st April 2010. Then to provide right to the children for getting free and compulsory elementary education. So this is the objective, that provide children a right, a fundamental right for getting free and compulsory elementary education within the age group of 6 to 14, that is from class 1 to class 8. And who are the beneficiary? Elementary school students. The students who are studying in class 1 to class 8, and their age appropriation is from 6 to 14. So this is a centrally sponsored scheme. And now the other central sponsored scheme, just very briefly, I am just taking the name of it, just like midday meal scheme, which is launched on 15th August 1995, midday meal scheme. Okay, so certain facilities of midday meal are given to the students in the elementary school, to all the students in the elementary school. That is to enhance enrollment, retention and attendance, and simultaneously to improve the nutritional status of the children. It is the objective. So how to enhance the enrollment, how to increase the retention, and how to address the issues of dropout. So it was this is the third process, that if midday meal scheme will be launched, if midday meal provision will be given, then children will come to the school, and equally that will also help to improve their nutritional status, and at the same time they will also educate, they will also study, they will also come to school. It is the objective of the midday meal scheme, which is a centrally sponsored scheme. And here the beneficiaries are elementary school students who are addressed in the Right to Education Act, that is from class 1 to class 8, that is age appropriation is from 6 to 14. Then Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya KGBV. So here the objective of Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya is to provide residential upper primary schools for girls from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward caste and Muslim communities. So this is just like to provide residential, to establish residential schools. That means hostel facilities will be there in the campus, and quality education will be given particularly to the girls from SC, ST, OBC and the Muslim communities. They are the social marginalized community, you can say. So how to provide quality education to them? It is a centrally sponsored scheme. And another objective of Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya is to set up in the areas of scattered habitations where schools are at great distance. So where to establish the Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya? Where the population is scattered and where there is no schools in the nearby, in the neighborhood, there Kasturba Gandhi Balika Vidyalaya can be established. And who are the benefits? Who are the beneficiary? All the elementary level children coming from scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC and minority communities, particularly the girls, will take the benefits of it. And the other centrally sponsored scheme of education, just like National Bal Bhavan, NBB, National Bal Bhavan. What is the objective of National Bal Bhavan? The objective is to provide opportunity to children for enhancing their creativity through creative art, writing, performance, physical education, scientific innovation, photography, etc. in a joyful environment. So the National Bal Bhavan, it provides quality education and it provides children to enhance their creative talent, to enhance their creative abilities and to create certain new things, to do the things in a very different way. Just like through creative art, through creative writing and performance, physical education, scientific innovation and photography also, in a very joyful environment, in a very joyful way, in a very child-friendly way. And who are the benefits of it? All the elementary level children are the benefits of it, the National Bal Bhavan. Next, let me to focus upon the another centrally sponsored scheme of education, that's called as Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan RMSA. It is launched in March 29, 2009. This is with a view to ensure efficient utilization of funds and greater coordination. Other centrally sponsored scheme of secondary education, that is ICT at school, inclusive education of the disabled at secondary stage, that's called as IEDSS, vocational education and girls hostel have been subsumed under the existing RMSA Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan scheme, and now it is under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. Try to understand RMSA to provide quality education to all the secondary school students. It is now part of or included in Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. So, right to education says that to provide free education, compulsory education to elementary school students, and RMSA Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, it says that to provide quality education, and different schemes are also included in RMSA, just like ICT at school, inclusive education of the disabled at the secondary stage, IEDSS, vocational education, then girls hostel are also part of the RMSA. So, to implement RMSA, certain sub schemes are also there, which is subsumed with the Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan, and now it is the part of the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. And the very objective of RMSA is to enhance access to secondary education and improve its quality. The schemes envisages inter alia to enhance the enrollment at secondary stage by providing secondary school within a reasonable distance of habitation, with an aim to ensure gross enrollment ratio GER, that is 100% by 2017 and universal retention by 2020. It was the target at that time. Then to improve quality of education imparted at secondary level through making all secondary schools conform to prescribed norms, then removing gender, socio economic and disability barriers, etc. So, these are the objectives of RMSA, and the beneficiaries are all the students studying at the secondary stage, that is in class 9th and class 10th. It is a centrally sponsored scheme. Then the other schemes are just like vocationalization of secondary and higher secondary education. This is approved by the Government of India 2011, and which is again subsumed in RMS in 2013 and revised in 2014. Now it is part of the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. The objective of the vocationalization of secondary and higher secondary education is to enhance the employability of youth through demand-driven, competency-based, modular and vocational courses, to maintain their competitiveness through provisions of multi-exit learning opportunities and vertical mobility, interchangeability in qualifications to fill the gap between educated and employment, and further to reduce the dropout rate at the secondary level and decrease the pressure on academic higher education. So, try to understand these were the objective of vocationalization of secondary and higher secondary education, and the main beneficiaries are the secondary and higher secondary students, that is from class 9th to class 12th. And a scheme of infrastructure development in minority institution, that is IDMI, infrastructure development in minority institution, is also a centrally sponsored scheme of education. The objective is the scheme facilitates education of minorities by augmenting the strengthening school infrastructure in minority institutions in order to expand facilities for formal education to children of minority communities. And this scheme covers the entire country, but preference given to minority institutions, that is the private aided, even if the unaided schools located in district blocks and towns having a minority population above 20%. So, it was the objective, and here beneficiaries are all the elementary school students, particularly the minority students. And the other centrally sponsored schemes of education, I am just taking the name of it, just like scheme for providing quality education for madrasa, SPQEM, that is to bring about qualitative improvement in madrasa to enable education for Muslim children, and the beneficiaries are at the elementary level. and setting model schools, that is 2008 to 2009 is a central scheme to set up 6,000 model schools in block level, one school in each block. That school will, a different types of school, you can say a quality school and a type of model school. That is at the secondary level. Okay, in every block there should be a model school. It is one of the centrally sponsored scheme. Then other centrally sponsored schemes are just like national means cum merit scholarship, the national scheme of incentive to girls for secondary education, and the beneficiaries are here the secondary school students. Then UDAN, the project aims at addressing the lower enrollment of girls in engineering colleges. So why the girls are not coming to the courses, to the program of technology, to the program of information and communication technology. So that's why, to motivate, to inspire them and to provide them incentives, there is another scheme, that is UDAN. So the objective of UDAN is to address the quality gap between school education and engineering entrance by addressing three dimensions of education, that is curriculum design, transaction and assessment. Then to enrich and enhance teaching and learning of science and mathematics at senior secondary level, and to provide a platform that empowers the girl students and provides better learning opportunities to them. And the beneficiaries are girl students at the secondary level. Then now let me to focus upon certain schemes that are also implemented as a constitutional provision at different states. Just like the state of Kerala, they have this scheme that's called as Atulyam. The beneficiaries are an incentive for primary school dropouts, those have left school without completing 4th standard. The state government's incentive will include 100-hour education for the development of vocational and computer skill of the participants. The state of Odisha, I am just focusing upon just 2 schemes, many other schemes are also there, that is model residential school. The beneficiaries are just like established 4 model residential schools in the pattern of Navodaya Vidyalaya for class 6 to 12 for tribal students in the district of Mayurbhanj, Sundargarh, Koraput and Raigada. And the other scheme of Odisha, that is girls hostel. It has established 400 primary level girls hostel for scheduled tribe girls in order to check the dropout rate among them. In the state of Chhattisgarh, Saraswati Yojana is there, that is free bicycle supply. State high school level learning girls of scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, they have distributed 45,000 cycles within the time period of 2006 to 2008. Then in the state of Gujarat, Balika Samriddhi Yojana to improve enrollment and retention of girl child, to rise marriage age of girls and assist girls in socio-economic educational upliftment. Another scheme of education in Gujarat state, that is Bal Pravesh. Government ensures 100% literacy in rural areas as it encourages Bal Pravesh child admission by providing admission forms and enrolling over 5,25,000 girls in the state in Kanya Kelavani Drive. The state of Andhra Pradesh has come forward with a scheme, that is Ma Badi, our school. The beneficiary is, this has been formulated in order to give access to all children in the age group of 6 to 11 years, even in small habitations with a population of 100 to 200. In the state of Madhya Pradesh, they have this scheme that's called as Head Start. It provides computers to improve the quality of teaching in rural elementary schools through indigenous customized educational software. Then in the state of Uttarakhand, they have the Balwadis. By providing a quality early childhood care program to 3 to 6 years old children in a remote, economically poor Himalayan village in Uttarakhand. In Maharashtra, Pratham, another scheme is there. The objective is to bring every child to school and help them to learn well. Pratham believes that its effort must be replicable and the interventions must supplement existing government initiatives to universalize primary education. Pratham has serving underprivileged Indian children through 5 main programs like preschool children, out of school children, working children, in school children, and computer assisted learning program. Then in Assam, I am just giving example of few schemes just like Rajiv Gandhi Computer Literacy Program in schools of Assam aims at introducing computer education in higher secondary schools, high schools of the state in a phased manner for standards 5th to 12th since 2003 to 2004. And presently also you will find that many new schemes the state is coming forward to addressing the educational need of the children. Then another scheme, that is Gyan Jyoti scheme. Gyan Jyoti scheme has been introduced by the government of Assam. Under this scheme, the government of Assam provides all facility to the students to visit the historically and geographically important places, including the industrial town of the region. Then Assam Vikas Yojana, this is for the elementary education students, financial grant to girl students or below poverty line or poor families for school uniform, and incentive to girl students, that is from class 1 to class 7, for purchasing reading materials. And after the Right to Education Act 2009, now almost all the states they are providing free books to the students. So friends, now let me to focus upon some of the practice questions. We have already, just to recapitulate, you have already studied that why there is the scheme of education and how the scheme of education is linked with the constitutional provision of education, and how the constitutional provisions of education are implemented through different schemes of education by following a commission's report, then through different acts and different schemes and different projects, and by giving different incentives to the children. And further we have discussed, as example, we have discussed certain centrally sponsored projects as well as certain state sponsored projects of education that are being launched in different states, and centrally sponsored are across the states, across the country. And now let me to go through certain questions, and these questions may help you for your exam preparation. Just like discuss the need and justification of schemes of education. So you can explain it, just viewing it, correlating it, linking it with the constitutional provisions. Then critically analyze the centrally and state sponsored schemes of education in the light of objectives and the beneficiary of these schemes and programs. So already I have given example of few schemes of education that are being launched by the union or the central government, and that are also few schemes are also launched by different state governments. So now also at the present time, in the contemporary time, you will find many new schemes are coming forward by the union government as well as different state governments. So you should critically analyze a scheme so far as the beneficiary is concerned, so far as different provisions of that scheme is concerned, so far as the very purpose and very objective of that scheme is concerned. So friends, we have concluded 3 lessons from the 3rd module, and in our next session we will be discussing any other topic from your online course. Thank you.